Achoo! Have you ever noticed how getting sick can cause challenges with our weight management? In this week's Thin Thinking episode, we diagnose the problems and give some prescriptions of some great thinking tools for self-care when you are sick. So grab that bedside manner and come on in. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Well, hello everyone. Welcome. We have new members joining us from all over the globe: India, Peru, the Philippines, and much, much more. Thank you everyone for enrolling and or signing up or whatever you do when you subscribe to a podcast. I guess you're just subscribing or downloading. You aren't enrolling, right? Oh my goodness. This brain of mine. So today's episode is brought to you all from my self-study Shift Weight Mastery process. Right now we are running a special for January, 2 for the price of 1 bonus, meaning when you enroll in the self-study shift, you also get to participate in the next live Shift Weight Mastery process, or the Shift Weight Mastery process in the autumn that I lead. Yes, so you would get to not only go through the self-study, which you can start anytime. You could start tomorrow, you can start next week, next month. You have the program for over a year, but you also can participate in the next live shift for the same price. So this is going on only from the 18th to the 25th. So check out the link in the show notes. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask me anything. So speaking of worldwide and the globe, we are in the middle of the winter here in the United States and are seeing an uptick yet again in coronavirus and also the flu, and then that respiratory RSV. We're seeing a lot of that. My son has been sick twice. I knock wood, I've been doing pretty good. I do drink my immunity drink, which has lots of antioxidants in it, but you never know, right? So I have had a number of you reach out to me for an episode on how to manage your weight when you're sick. So let's do some research. I've had a number of you reach out to me for an episode on how to manage your weight when you're sick. So let's dive into this. When I lived in England, you never said sick, right? British people use the word ill, not sick, or unwell. Unwell. Are you unwell? Are you ill? They never said. They laughed at me when I said sick. They would also say hospital. You go to hospital. You don't go to the hospital. Oh, he's in hospital, they would say, right? I never quite understood why they removed the, but whatever. It sounds good. The British are very precise. He's in hospital, right? Who needs that extra word? They would also say medicine, not medicine, but medicine. Oh, that's the medicine you would have. Oh, give him some medicine. Give her some medicine. I just thought I would throw that in there just in case you are ever in England and feeling unwell. Don't say you're sick. They'll laugh at you and you'll never hear the end of it. Oh, and getting better is on the mend. You're on the mend, not getting better. Oh, you're on the mend, are you? Delightful. Okay, so it may seem like getting sick is great for our weight, right? We often lose our appetite and we also lose weight up front because we get dehydrated and we get on the scale and the scale oftentimes is down and yippee! But often that weight comes right back and even more because here are some of the challenges that getting sick or being unwell poses to our weight release. One, it interrupts the flow of the structure that we had created, our healthy lifestyle structure. It takes us out of our exercise routine and it can be hard to get back in. It gives us the false illusion we are releasing weight. And then when we gain some back, we give up, we get upset. Oh my gosh, I've gained the weight back, and we give up. We undereat while we're sick and then begin eating more carby and refined food on an empty stomach, which spikes our blood sugar, can make us feel hungrier. And then we start thinking about those carbs again. And it becomes harder and harder to go back to our healthy eating habits. Because let's face it, when you're sick, a salad just doesn't feel like fun. We also start comfort eating our stress and feeling sorry for ourselves. And lastly, we find it hard to get back into the healthy habits that were there before, once we're well, we find it hard to get back into that structure that we had before. Okay, so then thinking around being sick, here are the mind tools. When you become unwell or sick, you want to start with identity. Remember, all behavioral change really starts with identity. And often, when we're in weight release mode, we'll just be like, well, I'm losing weight. And then we'll get sick and we're like, well, I'm sick, so I'm going to stop trying to release weight and just be sick, which is all fine and good. But what that does is it kind of puts you back in just to business as usual mode. And so whatever your brain is used to doing when you were sick in the past, it's just going to want to do that again, especially since you're sick and your brain doesn't want to work that hard. So your subconscious mind is just going to kick into business as usual gear. And so if it's, loading up on a bunch of saltines and, drinking lots of sugary 7-Up or something, that's probably going to be what you're going to be drawn to. So right now, even before you're unwell or sick, and God forbid, I hope you stay well, for the next 100 years. But if you are unwell, I want you to know now that you are a weight master being unwell rather than somebody who is who is an apprentice of weight mastery or a weight master on your mastery journey of weight release. And so you, even when you're ill, okay, the diet isn't over and you can pick up when you're better. You're always a weight master. What this does is it opens up your mind to see you differently and to problem solve rather than to devolve into victimhood. I'm sick and, just falling back into our old patterns. Okay, so let's tackle each of the challenges that I brought up, shall we? One by one, I'll just go through them. So the first challenge is being unwell interrupts the flow of the structure we had created. So building upon what I just said about us being a weight master, that it isn't business as usual, but we're now seeing ourselves from a different perspective. We're now coming at this internally. We're taking 100% responsibility for ourselves, which then removes that victim mindset, right? That we're 100% responsible. You're internally driven to the extent that, being sick is now plan B, meaning that, yes, you aren't going to be probably eating the same that you were when you were well, but that you're going to be mindful about it. You're going to make still healthy choices for your being sick. And what that does is it continues the structure. right? We want to keep a continuum of how we see ourselves so that there isn't a disconnect. Does this make sense? I hope it does. So we want to continue the continuum of being healthy, seeing ourselves in that more powerful, 100% responsible place. You're going to now learn, you're going to be a weight learner and learn how to be unwell as a healthy person. And this actually, eating healthfully helps you mend a bit faster, because a lot of those foods that we eat when we're sick creates inflammation in our body, which slows down the healing process, especially the carby, sugary foods. So the second interrupter is it takes us out of our exercise routine, and it can be hard to get back on. So the mind is a weird thing, as we are establishing, have been establishing for the last couple of years since the beginning of this Thin Thinking podcast. I can't exercise because I'm sick. That may or may not be true, but here is my thin thinking advice. Like, if you have a mild cold, you can probably continue to do some sort of workout. Yes, if you have a fever. Yes, if you are really, put into bed and meant to rest, you cannot do your normal exercise routine, of course. But you can tell your brain that you are on your sickness exercise routine and still move your body every day. This may be as minimal as wiggling your toes for 5 minutes or moving your fingers, but we're going to call that physical activity because, again, it allows your brain to have continuity. And as you are on the mend, then you can slowly build up to what you did before, because often what happens is we just stop everything and then we try to get back, and there's usually some sort of resistance to that. But if we are keeping ourselves in exercise mode, and what I would, depending on how sick you are, of course, but if you're in a coma, obviously this doesn't apply. But, even I've had clients in COVID, and I say, just wiggle your toes in bed, if you are bedridden. And, they continued their exercise routine. And then as they got better, they walked around the block once, called that exercise. As they got better, they would just get on the treadmill for 5 minutes a day. But what that did was continue that continuity of I exercise every day, or I exercise consistently in their mind. So if you're somebody who works out 5 days a week or walks 4 days a week, you still work out on those days, quote unquote, even though it might just be wiggling your toes in bed. I hope that makes sense to you as well. But it just keeps your brain in the world that, in the mindset that you are still exercising, and then you don't have to do all that heavy lifting of getting back into exercise, which frankly, for a lot of people, it's kind of a deal breaker. They just give up, and then often after they're ill, they'll have a really hard time getting back into the swing of things. So the next interrupter is it gives us the false illusion we're releasing weight, and then we gain some back, and we get upset, and we give up. So when we become sick, again, we get dehydrated. We are a large percentage of our body, 60, 70%, 75% of our body is water, right? So when we're ill, our body is using water. We're sweating out water. If you have a fever, we're often sweating. We're not drinking enough fluids often. And even if we are, maybe we're not retaining them. So you're going to see a major fluctuation in water weight, and also the fact that you may not be eating, maybe you're throwing up, or maybe you're just too sick if you don't feel like eating food and you don't eat for a few days, and the scale may go down significantly, 5-10 pounds sometimes. And we get on the scale, and of course, as somebody who is a scale watcher, we're like, yippee, that's amazing, I've lost all this weight, even though, we're sick. So there's that part of our mind that wants to believe that, and yet the reality of it is once you are well, that weight will come back because it's water weight. It's really not fat loss for the most part. There's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. And, so in order for you to release that pound, so maybe you have released a pound or 2 pounds over the course of being ill. That could be true, but you want to kind of really think of it from that perspective so that you can calm yourself down on the scale. One, to set realistic expectations, because what happens is you gain the weight back, then you feel bad about yourself, and there's nothing for you to feel bad about. You have been unwell and, poor thing. And you're depleted and your mind's not in the right place. And then you see that scale go up and it makes you feel even worse about yourself. But if you can look at the scale or just not, don't get on the scale when you're sick, or get on the scale, just get the number and go, okay, that number is not real. Whatever I weighed before, I'll probably go back to. You need to, again, long-term permanent weight mastery is all about how you communicate with yourself in a realistic fashion. And so really being clear with yourself about, you might be aware that, oh, well, I probably have undereaten and I have released maybe 1 or 2 actual physical pounds, but the rest of that is water. You can then, when the weight comes back, the water weight comes back, you're not so disappointed. You are clear. Being able to have that conversation with yourself on the scale is very empowering, because it stops making you a victim of, haphazard, get on the scale, it's down, it's up, and we don't know why. So having a rational conversation with yourself on the scale, if you are weighing yourself, while you're ill, maybe just take a break from the scale, because whatever those numbers are not going to be wholly accurate, or weigh yourself once or twice a week rather than every day. With that expectation that most of that weight probably will come back. And that's okay. You can continue your weight release, but, it's water weight. It's just water weight anyway. So I hope that makes sense as well. So another challenge is we undereat and then begin eating more carby and refined foods, which then spikes our blood sugar, makes us feel hungrier, and then we start thinking about those carby foods again. It becomes harder to go back to our healthy habits when we're feeling better. If you're eating the chicken and broccoli and, when you're well, and then you become unwell, you become sick, and you start eating the crackers and the toast, it's going to start to tickle what I like to call your carb zombie. The carb zombie is the pleasure center in your brain that gets triggered from an overabundance of carbs. And what happens when that happens, when your carb zombie gets woken up, is like if you've been eating healthy and you might not be thinking too much about food, and you've stabilized your hunger and your blood sugar, and then all of a sudden you're eating more carby food, that part of the brain gets engaged and you start thinking about food more, you start feeling hungrier. Now, this isn't your fault, but when you're overeating carbs, this is what happens, right? So the problem is, though, that when we think about then eating the chicken and the broccoli, when we're well again, our brain doesn't want to do it, because once the carb zombie is awake, it doesn't want to eat chicken and broccoli. It wants to continue to eating toast and crackers. So in order to avoid this, here are some things that you want to do. You want to not reach for really refined foods when you're ill. Like, I know you want to eat maybe something a little more comforting, which is fine, but bear this in mind. First of all, drink water and stay hydrated, because that could also mess with your hunger levels. Stay away from the super refined white carbs, right? The white flour, so the saltine crackers, the white toast, the white rice, the white things that may stimulate you, especially naked carbs, meaning eating them on an empty stomach without any protein. Opt for proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. If you need something comforting, make yourself a smoothie or some vegetable chicken soup or vegetable tofu soup, cooked vegetables, cooked fruit, slice up an apple and put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. It makes a lovely, put a little cinnamon on it. It makes a lovely, comforting dish. You could add it on a little bit of oatmeal, wholesome oatmeal, not the really refined oatmeal that comes in the envelopes that has sugar in it, but the apple sweetens the oatmeal. Brown rice, eggs, yogurt. These are all stabilizing foods that can help you be soothing, but also not stimulate your carb zombie. Eating smaller portions more often probably is going to be more helpful than eating big meals because your body probably isn't going to be able to digest as well since you're sick. So bearing these in mind, I think can help you a lot not get off track. So another challenge is we start comfort eating our stress and feeling sorry for ourselves. So instead of feeling sorry for yourself, I am sick and I need to eat to feel better, think of yourself as a powerful, nurturing healer and start giving yourself some healing love, ways other than food. You can give yourself love and nurturing even if no one else is there. You can say to yourself, I'm sorry you're sick. Be your own loving, nurturing mama, right? Oh, I'm so sorry you're sick, baby. I feel bad. It's too bad that we're not well, right? Like give yourself a little lovin's. But you don't want to be the victim and you don't want to have to feel like you have to fill that victimhood with food. You know, oh, you're not well. I'm going to take care of you. Give yourself hot baths. Or you can do this really great meditation where you just envision your white blood cells multiplying and eating up all the bad disease cells. You can give yourself a mantra. I am on the path of healing. My body is a healing miracle. Say it again. I am on the path of healing. My body is a healing miracle. Or you can come up with your own. Give yourself massages with lotion or have a loved one give you a nice massage with lotion. Make yourself a cup of hot tea. Get a hot pad out and sit on it or put it where it hurts. Read a great book or trashy magazines. I love, Us Magazine, People Magazine. When I'm sick, I can just sit there and consume a whole bunch of them. Or listen to an Audible while you're laying in bed. Or go sit in the sun and listen to a book. Or go just sit in the sun. The sun is so healing. Or watch or listen to a comedy show. And then the last one, you can create a gratitude list. That might be a little hard if you're sick, but you can at least create a gratitude list in your mind. When you start to feel better, think of slowly coming back. It's not all or nothing. If you've stayed away from the refined carbs, you should find it easy to get back into the healthier choices. And if you've moved your body, you can ease back into exercise. Seeing your sickness not as separate from your weight journey, but a part of your weight journey gives you the power back. So I hope this helps. And I hope you stay well and don't need to use any of this advice ever, ever, ever. So as a reminder, again, you have until the 25th, January 25th, 2022 to get the 2 shifts for the price of one with that bonus of the live shift, either in late April or early May when I lead a group through. I only do this twice a year, or you can do it in the autumn. So you can do your self-study now. You have, when you enroll, you have a year to actually use it, and you can use it as many times as you want during that year. So you could go through a 30-day process 1 to 5 times or more. But you can enroll now. The link is in the show notes, and you can read through all about it. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, everyone, have an amazing week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle is inside you, so keep listening and find it. I will look forward to seeing you and being with you next week. Do you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release? Head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking, Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.